All right, we're gonna try a little different approach with the V9 review. By the time you've seen this, you've probably seen a lot of V9 reviews, so rather than going through all the specs, I'm gonna leave that in the description below. And we're gonna do this a little bit differently, okay? By the time you watch this, you're probably thinking about considering buying a V9, or you've read all the great things about it already. And so I wanted to highlight some of the things that you may not like about it, all right? That way, if you're at the end of the video and you're like, Brian, actually, I'm okay with those things and I actually like those things, then that validates your decision even more, and you should definitely get a V9. If you decide that those things are something that was brought to your attention that you are not aware of or hadn't thought about, and it does make you choose something else, then more power to you. I want to make sure the whole purpose of this channel in general is to kind of cover some of the hyped up stuff and see what things are really about and see if it's a good match for you, and make sure that you are informed and that you get a product that is a good match for you, that will work for you, and that you're not surprised by anything negative once you get it. All right, so one thing you're not going to be as excited to hear about is the speaker. All right, so Inmotion did a good job of placing the speaker at the top of the unit and forwardmost, which is great because that maximizes proximity to you as a listener or rider. However, the speakers here only project to the side. They don't come upwards, and obviously they can't do it upwards because there's a display here, and then there's the trolley handle, there's battery cover. But ideally, for directionality, for an advantage of being able to hear music as the rider, the speakers needs to face up. It needs to face towards you, at least towards your chin, towards your ears, or your head, at least in that direction. Right now, the speaker goes sideways in this direction. So you're not gonna be able to hear the music that well as the rider, especially when, number one, you have ambient city noise, okay? And then number two, just the directionality of it. The proximity is too far away. It's probably about 3.5 feet from the speaker to your ears, I'm guessing, or maybe 4 feet, depending on how tall you are. And you're just not really gonna be able to hear it. And the third thing is that if you do have a comm system and you're not using it for sound, then the speakers that are built, that I put inside here with every comm system, they act as a muffler. They act as a muffler. So basically you're wearing mufflers and having a speaker that is projecting sound sideways and not towards you. So if you're thinking that you're going to be using the speakers as a Bluetooth speaker that you would have on your backpack, or cylindrical round ones like a JBL, it's not going to sound nearly as good and nearly as audible. One thing that's not immediately noticeable, at least visually, is that this tire is a tubeless tire. So generally tires will have a tube in there, much like a bicycle, and then you'll have a 90-degree valve stem, which sticks out a little bit and is kind of vulnerable to hitting things or even shearing off. This is the first EUC, at least by Inmotion, that has a UL listed battery. The sturdiness of the stand is pretty good for something that's built into the body itself. It's literally just this piece right here. And because it's so wide, it does hold fairly well. Much, much better than, say, the V8F, which my daughter has. That one, when you put it on even something super flat, you touch it just gently and it can easily fall over. For this one, we don't have that case because the body is so wide. Just make sure you have some forward momentum. There you go, there you go, there you go. There you go, you got it. Oh my God, you're sitting? You're sitting already? On your first try? This does have a very good headlight. It has a daytime running light. If you press this button for a short while, actually let's turn it back on, you'll see this ring of light, and that's the daytime running light. And when you press it on, and then you turn on the actual bulb. So at nighttime, you can actually use this to look at the road. And it is much better as far as a light performance of casting light on the ground for you to see. Way better than the Go T4. So that's a legitimate headlight for sure. As far as the trolley handle, there is a button right here. You're gonna press that, and then this allows this to come up. So it is quite short, and it locks in place here. But for practical purposes and not having to take too much space and being too delicate and
and braking, this is pretty good. This is pretty solid. I don't imagine this trolley handle breaking anytime soon. And you do have to press the button again on the bottom to release that in order for it to come back down. The kill switch is on the back here, as opposed to the trolley releases here and the kill switch is here. So once you pull that kill switch, you can lift up the wheel and it won't spin. For those of you who know, for most cases, if there's no kill switch, if you lift up the EUC, the wheel will start spinning like crazy. So the charge port is here, this way. And the cool thing about Inmotion wheels is that they have charge ports. So yes, you can charge USB-A and USB-C. One little warning is, do not let metal touch those prongs, because there's positive and negative, and if you conduct them by using a piece of metal like a screwdriver or a key or even something that you're charging, you're going to short that and bad things will happen. So be very, very careful when you're charging your devices, but it is cool that you can have this on board. So I have seen people with a V11 that also has charge ports. With this flap open, they'll have a really long cable and they can actually ride the EUC while charging their phone or their device.
All right, one thing I don't like about the GPS system is it's a paid service. It's a paid service. It is subscription based. So no one ever talks about that, but the first year is a promo and it is free. But after the first year, the GPS system for locating your wheel is a paid subscription. I don't know the price right now, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to list it in the description or maybe on the screen here. But it is a paid service. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, a couple more things. Depending on the city that you live in, you may want to kind of check out what police tendency is for responding to stolen vehicles or things that have air tags or GPS systems. In San Francisco, if someone steals your wheel or steals your bike or something and they bring it into an apartment building where there's multiple levels, the police will not go and fetch it for you. They will not help you. And the reason why, or the reason they say, is because they don't know what floor it's on. They don't know X and Y axis of where it is in the coordinates, but they don't know the Z axis. They don't know how high, what level it's on. And they have no permission and no reason other than your suspicion and the GPS to go or check into all the units. So they will need a warrant, or they'll at least say they need a warrant. And by the time they get a warrant and come back, the wheel is probably gone or they moved it to another place. So again, check to see what the police or whatever the police tendency is to respond to these sort of GPS things, because if it's not good, such as in San Francisco, then having GPS system isn't that great. So what is one good thing that the GPS is good for? Number one is if you have a roommate or a spouse or a friend who tends to borrow your stuff without asking. Okay, in that sense, then you know who has it and you can locate it easily and you can retrieve it back and you can yell at them, whatever. But if it's a stranger and it's straight up theft, you being able to retrieve it with the help of the police is not going to be possible in every city. Okay? Some countries, some cities, the police would be more than happy to help you and their laws are on your side. But in the case of San Francisco, that is not the case. All right, I want to show you as much as I can on camera how much resistance there is. So again, there is no self-balancing on the lock feature or when the lock is engaged. And as I'm trying to push it, there's a lot of resistance and it's beeping. It's not beeping loud enough where it's going to draw someone's attention, but it's definitely, it shows that there's something that's wrong with it. It's not behaving how it normally would if it were unlocked. So going forward and back, a lot of resistance. Although the locking feature is great and it does what it needs to do, let's look at this in reality, okay? So you're at a coffee shop. If you're in a busy city and you have space, most of us are just gonna take the wheel with us. We're not gonna leave it out on the street. I mean, generally not gonna leave it on the street. There's one instance I can think of where you would, and that's if you're at a festival or some sort of street fair or something like that, and there's porta potties. You're not going to bring that thing into a porta potty. So you're going to leave it outside for the moment you're doing your business. And yes, that lock would come in handy. All right. But the way the lock works, it does not prevent anyone from lifting it up and hauling it away. And this is 51 pounds, which is heavy for an item or a product or something to lug around, but it's not impossible lift, obviously, and is definitely lighter than a motorcycle. People steal motorcycles all the time, and this is small enough to fit inside a van or a truck that someone has close by. So if someone really wants it and they see you and you're not in close proximity to it and you're not keeping an eye on it, I would not rely on the locking feature for that purpose. I know the pads on other EUCs you've seen that are more expensive, that are beefier, that go faster, might look pretty cool, and then you're thinking that something's missing on the V9 because it lacks pads. For beginner wheel, I really think it's important to learn to ride without pads so that you have a sense of leg movement and body shifting, weight shifting, and not have to be restricted to where the pads are, because in the very, very beginning, you're not going to even know where the pads need to be or where they should be. And then a lot of times people are asking, where should they be? How should I place them? So pad placement is very, very specific to each rider. And so it's important to get some experience on riding the EUC without pads to know where you would want them. Some may argue at least have a brake pad, something on the back so that you have leverage when you brake for emergency. I think as long as you're aware of what you're riding and being aware of your surroundings and obviously anticipating situations around you and just kind of situational awareness overall, you're not going to need pads for this. I'm going to go out and say that. I know there's going to be arguments and people are going to think differently, but I think with the V9, for its capability and its use case, pads is not a necessity. And it doesn't look like there's a placement that's designed to hold pads on this, even though it's quite flat and it looks like you can Velcro one on pretty easily. I think for the most part, pads on an EUC are quite overrated for beginner wheels. One argument I'm going to make for not needing pads is the length of the stock pedal. It's quite long, so you have a lot of leverage from the center of the pedal to the top. So you can shift your foot entirely a little bit more forward for more acceleration. You can shift a little bit further back for more braking. Do you feel like the long pedals are a good thing or a bad thing?
They're neither, because like my feet are really small, so it doesn't really matter. But it is nice to have like more freedom to put your foot wherever you want. So, yeah.
Okay.
This does have suspension, very good suspension, and the performance is, I can't stress this enough, but the difference between an 18-mile-an-hour wheel versus a 22 to 25-mile-per-hour wheel is big as far as practical use scenario. With the V8F that tops out at 18 to 20 miles an hour, I generally would ride that only in the bike lane. And it's my daughter's wheel, so I don't really ride it at all. But for this wheel, I have no issue, you know, granted, it's a good time as far as traffic and all that kind of stuff to be taking the lane and riding with the cars.
This V9 tops out at what I consider to be about 22 to 25 miles per hour. 22 miles per hour, you can probably ride that for most of the duration of the wheel until you get down to about 20%. Once you get below 20%, 15 and lower, the top speed drastically drops all the way down to 8 miles per hour. So the usable top speed is the usable battery state of charge is going to be from 100% all the way down to 20-ish%. And that is riding at about 22 miles per hour. I'll have a chart up here on the screen of some of the tests I've done as far as top speed and when it starts to beep at various levels of state of charge. And obviously, it's not really about the speed that'll make it beep, but about how much you're pushing it. If you accelerate gradually, you're going to be able to get to a higher top speed, as opposed to accelerating very abruptly, you're going to get to a much lower top speed before it starts to beep.
As you get to a lower state of charge with the battery, as you're using the battery and depleting it, it's going to take that much more energy to go the same speed that you want. And so your top speed is going to slowly dwindle down. And so I think 22 miles an hour I would feel is a safe bet as far as how fast you expect to be riding the V9 for the duration of the battery. 22 miles per hour, that's my take on it. That's been my experience. It will go to 25 easily, The rating is 28 miles per hour. One thing about me is that I normally never ride trails. On my Bago T4, I ride trails less than 5% of the time, and it's only because someone led me the wrong way, or I'm following a group, or someone really, really wants to. I'm generally always on the pavement. But I did want to test the V9 on the trails to see how they perform. And despite it being a street tire, I think because of the light weight of it, around 51 pounds, it is very maneuverable. And what surprised me about it is because it's so maneuverable, when the wheel is hitting areas that are imperfect or angled that you're not expecting, you're hitting a root, you can more easily correct it without overcorrecting. Whereas for a larger wheel, you're going to feel like it may be too heavy, or as it's getting off balance, you may overcorrect or undercorrect, and then it doesn't work out. But with a wheel like this, because it's so maneuverable, it's very easy to correct yourself as you're riding. And again, this is coming from someone who doesn't ride trails, partly because I started trying to ride trails on a one wheel, and I'd say that's a lot harder by far. With an EUC, it's for me at least, it's a little bit easier, but I still don't like riding trails. But for the V9, for whatever reason, like I've stated, it's a lot easier, and I think it does have to do with the weight and the maneuverability of it, more so than the tire, because the tire is not designed as an off-road trail tire.
So yes, the V9 has very, very good value. For the amount over $1,000 that you'd be paying for the current price of the V10F, $300 more, you're getting suspension, you're getting a better tire, you're getting GPS system, you're getting the locking feature, you're getting longer pedals. There's all the stuff I talked about. So the value there is really good. And if it, as a beginner wheel, I think it's actually at a very good mark. Okay, it's not so high you're going 30 miles plus per hour and then you're kind of overwhelming yourself and getting your feet a little bit deeper than you should be. It's also not something that you're gonna outgrow necessarily too quickly. So I've had this for a while. I thought I'd only have it for, I don't know, like 20, 50 miles, but because I've ridden it so much, and my T4 actually now is having its tire changed, and so I haven't ridden the T4 at all, and I've been riding this exclusively for a few weeks now. And I gotta say, honestly, I like it. I really do like it. I would actually consider having this not as my primary wheel, but as a secondary wheel, even though I already ride EUC and I have a primary wheel already. This is not something that you would necessarily buy, grow out of, and then never see again. Something like the Kingsong 16X or something like the V8F or even V10F. You may ride, and then when you outgrow that, you may not touch it ever again. Stuff like this and stuff like the M10-4 have some characteristics to it that you may outgrow in speed, but because of the way it behaves and because how good it is in every aspect, that you would still continue to ride it. Okay, this is not, it's no secret, this is not a speed demon wheel, okay? But it is very, very capable. For $1,300, super capable, and has a lot of, I don't want to say like futuristic features, but the GPS thing and the locking wheel thing, pretty cool things to have on wheels these days. And I would love to see that happen for more wheels, not just from Inmotion, but from other companies as well. So hopefully this video helped you out. And if you have any questions, this is still a fairly small channel, so go ahead and leave a comment below, and chances are very, very high I will see it and I will respond. So good luck, be safe, wear a helmet, take care. We're gonna stop at this little yellow Escape from Rock.